years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Bennett, and this, of course, is the Ramble, coming your way as it does each and every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Daylight Time, because we are on the other coast of the United States. Anyway, we got a guest tonight, as we try to have almost every night at this time, and this is a guy who we absolutely love talking to. Ladies and gentlemen, out to San Fran. No, we're not going out to San Francisco, are we, Will Durst?
No, we're in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin.
Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. What the hell are you doing in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin? Are you going for sturgeon?
No, but they have good sturgeon. I'm doing my little one-man boomer show.
I'm telling you, I've told you once, I'll tell you a million times, if you want to make it in show business, don't call it your little show.
Yeah, there's your problem. That's been my whole problem.
Yeah, you want the big show. Oh, I'm doing the big show.
Big boomer show. I'm doing my big boomer show.
Yeah. Well, you always say my little show. You always think of it as humble, don't you?
Nah.
Huh? Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the size.
Really?
It's not. It's an adjective, mostly related to gargantua and silver verbs.
Yeah. By the way, please don't mind the fact if I wipe my eyes, but they're tearing like crazy. It's allergy season again.
September.
You know something? I understand now. There's something my wife told me, her doctor told her allergist said, allergy season is all year long now. Plus, I think there's something in this apartment house that's killing me. There's some like asbestos or I don't know what it is,
Well, September is traditionally harvest. So everything, comes to fruition in September, and then it dies in November. And so everything that's, growing is right now. So I would say April and September would be the worst.
Harvesting what? Rats? It's New York City, after all.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, it's New York. The crops are coming in. Come on.
Well, you're not that far from New Jersey, and those things are kind of light, and they float on the air and stuff.
Well, things don't. I'm sorry, but things don't grow naturally in New York City. So I don't think there's a harvest here.
Yeah, well, you may be right, but I mean, it's cauliflower and tomatoes and corn, of course, and pumpkins. You can see them lying right on the ground, and wine grapes.
Where in Central Park?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's all coming to you.
I see. Because I'm like about 6 blocks away from the park.
Yeah.
Okay. And that has got to be, all right, just a hotbed of allergy things in there for allergy sufferers.
It's a huge park. It's the size of a small city.
You know something? It's a huge park, but it's not as wide as you think it is. It's only 3 avenues wide, something like that.
Yeah, but 3 avenues is a mile.
And then it goes from 110th Street to 57th Street. So that's how many blocks, It's about 6.
If it's a mile, and it's got to be 4 square miles.
Yeah, yeah. But
how many acres is that? Hectacre?
I have no idea. But all I know is that I actually, you would think that it's only like about 3 avenues wide, okay? And you wouldn't think this would happen, but one day I decided to walk home, and I got lost in the park. I couldn't find my way out of it. That's how dense it becomes at certain points. And it's all phony. It was all planted. It's not real. I mean, they're real plants, but they were brought in from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're doing your.
And did you have your phone with you when you were lost in the park?
Yes, I did, and I had to go to the GPS to get myself out of the park.
That's fair and right and true and just. That's
Actually,
we're
what I
doing.
had was a app they had of Central Park that tells you exactly where you are in Central Park, and
That
then
is so cool.
I saw the various exit routes that you know.
Yeah. So you weren't really lost.
I was really lost. I felt lost.
Yeah.
You know. So it was not fun. You know.
Tremendous.
I was scared. You know, I thought I'd never. At one moment, I actually thought, what would happen if I could never get out of this park and they find my body days later, having died of starvation and water deprivation, and they would say, the asshole should have just walked 3 blocks in one direction. You know?
You should have walked west.
I don't want to be the idiot that died of starvation in Central Park, although that probably does happen with poor people who use the park to sleep in. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I imagine it has happened.
Yeah. So you're in Wisconsin, and what is the feel in Wisconsin of the nation, the pulse of the nation, Wisconsin? Because after all, that is part of the part. Did they vote for Trump in Wisconsin? Yeah. Yeah, boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, it's so schizophrenic because Milwaukee, big city,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of liberals.
Mm-hmm.
Fancy, educated folk.
Yeah.
And out here, where people are making a living,
Mm-hmm.
and there's kind of an arty. It's like artists and rednecks here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Especially because this is a destination.
Wait a minute.
area.
Wait a minute. Are you saying arty rednecks?
Artists and rednecks.
Oh, and rednecks, because I just don't associate arty and rednecks in the same sentence. Okay.
Yeah, like a Prius with a gun rack.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it's pretty Trumpy. It's pretty Trumpy.
Pretty Trumpy. Wow. That's interesting. That's fascinating. Because I have I been to Wisconsin? I lived in Minnesota, so I must have somehow gotten to Wisconsin at some point, either just taking a wrong road or something.
Were you in Minneapolis?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go due east for 45 minutes from Minneapolis, well, from St. Paul, you'll end up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
then you're in the upper northern Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
It's like upper northern Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what is the pulse of the nation there? What do you feel?
Well, they think that he's done a good job, and they don't care that he's, besmirched the office or that he lies or he cheats or he steals. They don't care.
They don't want to believe it? Is it buyer's remorse, or is
No,
it?
they don't care. They don't care what he does.
Why?
As long as he, stands strong for America, and they think that he's doing it.
Stand strong for America. What is standing strong for America?
It's just an attitude.
It's jingoistic at best.
No, it's not best or worst. It's just jingoistic.
Yeah.
That's the only concept that people can associate with the State Department. They don't understand intricacies and benefits and the zero sum that if we do well, other people don't do well, and it's better to have everybody feeling halfway decent so that they're not desperate.
Well, now that's a farming area up there, right?
Yeah.
And they're being hit badly by the tariffs.
Yeah, it's disconnected.
But I mean, are they still farm in spite of the fact they're starving to death because they're not making money because of that situation?
Well, farmers always have things go wrong. Everything about farming is a crap.
It's basically one plague of locusts after another.
Exactly, and this is just another plague, and they don't take it. They don't take him personally responsible. Well, they do, but it's not enough to.
Because I see on television interviews with people in that part of the country or farmers who say, well, I voted for him, but I'm not going to again after this because
I don't see those interviews.
Yeah. Well, you probably didn't go to leftwingtelevision.com, you know.
Commie pinko yellow-eyed bastard.
I just don't, I can't imagine anybody of any modicum of intelligence finding this guy a good time at this point, I mean, how are you a Christian and you don't mind him grabbing women by the pussy or going out with a porn star or dating a
third
playmate?
wife was pregnant with his fifth child.
Huh?
Well, his third wife was pregnant with his fifth child.
Yes, exactly. How do they even, if they consider themselves good Christians, do they just turn a blind eye to that?
Yes, a very simple prepositional phrase. Well, I don't agree with all of his actions and everything he tweets, but and that's it. That absolves him of everything. Well, I don't agree with everything he does or says, but and then. Yeah.
So if you had to put your money on the next election, where would you put it?
If it's a fair election, he loses.
Okay. And?
If it's not a fair election, hello, Canada.
How would it be? How would it not be a fair election? What would happen?
The last one, not a fair election.
Well, yeah, but Russia was involved, but now we're aware of that, so we're trying to do everything to prevent that kind of intervention.
Huh.
Oh, you have your doubts.
That was 4 years ago. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Do you know how much technology has advanced in 4 years? And we're still using that playbook. We still haven't plugged the holes from 2016.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And now they got 2020 holes.
Oh boy.
So 75,000 votes was the entire election. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. 75,000 votes. He won total, cumulative, in those 3 states, would have switched the election. And I think they found him, and I think they're going to find him again.
Well,
and I think all hell is going to break loose. But then 2018 was encouraging.
It was encouraging, but those were basically local elections, if you want to put it that way. Okay, a little bit, probably a little bit harder to scam, because you can't do it with a wide swath. What Russia did at the very least was like go on to Facebook and say all kinds of things and start all kinds of rumors and
Then you have to ask yourself, does he want to win?
Well, the first time I didn't think he wanted to win. It was like, I thought of the last election as the sequel to The Producers. What if we do? What if we'll run for president? We'll get all the money that you get for that because you get to keep it afterwards, right? And then we'll do everything we can to lose the election. Where did we go right? Where do we go wrong or whatever the line was in The Producers. But it's like The Producers. It's like if you said, let's see what we can do so you don't win this election. And the answer to that question is, you won it. Oh, what do we do now? I mean, I wonder if that night he just went, oh, fuck. I had all my plans for what I was going to do if I didn't win, like start a television network and whatever. And all of a sudden he found out he won. Now what do I do?
I think he will again.
Huh?
Because he's made so many contacts, and he's the former, he will be the former president of the United States. He'll be just walking around and, everybody will treat him like a president.
Now that I think about that, I would love to see the library. One book.
And it hasn't been colored in yet.
No, it's The Art of the Deal. That's it. That's the book. That's the... Every book he ever read, one book, That was only because he was proofing it.
I don't even think he read it.
It's amazing.
So what are you doing these days?
Nothing. Nothing.
And getting away with it.
Huh? And getting away with it. Yeah. No, I'm kind of bored. I wish I had a job. I wish I had some place to go. Every day. I mean, you don't know what that's like because for you to go, it's your computer, right? And then when you do go to work, it's you travel to somewhere and you sit in a green room and then you do your act and you go home.
Yeah, it's a whole process.
With me, it was a whole thing of I like getting up in the morning and going down to the station, going to some place to do a program. And even in this day and age, I probably would be asked to do it from home.
Yeah.
And I don't like. I mean, I love having my little studio here, but I just don't feel I'm doing a show. I just feel I'm
not just you. It's everybody. You remember Paul Wells?
Yeah. Yeah,
Paul Wells produces the Will and Willie show, and once a month we try to get together and do a little podcast. So I talk to him on occasion. And he's still working at a radio station in Santa Rosa, but he only does one shift a week.
Yeah.
And he tries to syndicate. It's a 3-hour thing. But he's telling me about this station. They have 2 employees at the station. They have one person who comes in and does a 12 to 6 shift every day, 7 days a week, 12 to 6. And everything else is mechanized. Everything else is automated. It's from somewhere else.
Yeah, but that isn't just one station. That's all over the country.
Yeah.
You know.
All over the country.
It used to be, there was a law they changed recently where your transmitter, you had to have your studios where your transmitter was, at least in the area where your transmitter was. You used to have a studio. You have to have a studio present.
And you needed an engineer, yeah.
Now you don't have to. Now they can just have that transmitter and they can feed it from New York or they can feed it from Omaha or whatever. So, I mean, what he's seeing there is not uncommon. I'll tell you the day I had a wake-up call, and this was many years ago. This was maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that, 20 years ago when I was working for Clear Channel for a short time. And Lori, my newswoman, had gone over there and was doing shows for them for all their other stations. They would do what you call voice tracking. In other words, they would voice track the show, like, and here's the music of so-and-so, and here's so-and-so playing blah, 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 And that's all you would do, and then that was sent out. And that way she did a 6-hour shift on Saturday and Sunday. But she came in on Friday and recorded it. And they only paid her for the time she spent recording it, and they told her she could only take an hour and a half on each one. And then they were paying her at a rate of, something like $10 an hour. So they got 12 hours of programming out of her for something like, $30. $30. That's what happened to this business. So, when I say I'm looking for work in the radio business, I'm sorry, it really isn't out there. And even if I got it, it would be, the money I would bring in would have nothing to do with the fact that it was being compensated by the fact that I was doing a show somewhere. But, even some place like Sirius, which is now there are 2 things you do when your career is finished. You either go to Sirius or you either start a podcast, one or the other, okay? And in the case of Sirius, you go over there, there are people, the average person over there makes $35,000 a year. And some people make a lot of money like Howard, but then the rest of them make $35,000 a year. I mean, I was making maybe triple that, a little over triple that, and that's probably why I got fired. I was costing them too much. No, really, I'm serious. So there's no money in the business, and imagine, $35,000 for, say, a producer's job as an example, and you're expected to live in New York City. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. So, but that's the way it is all over the business. They're just paying people next to nothing, Most of the programming, as you say, comes in from somewhere else, and there's just somebody sitting there watching it. And in fact, they don't even have to be sitting there watching it anymore. The laws are such now that they can just send the signal to the station, and hey, if it goes off the air, well, it goes off the air. We'll have somebody on call that can go down and flip a switch.
Yeah, in San Francisco, they just closed down KFOG so that it could be utilized as the FM simulcast of KNBR,
Yeah.
the sports station.
Yeah.
Why do you need to hear sports talk in stereo?
Why do you need to hear two stations that are doing sports talk?
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah. But they did that to save money. They don't have a whole station staff to pay to keep that station on the air. They just simply.
Why? You're splitting your audience anyhow. You already got the AM signal,
Yeah.
and you get 50,000 listeners, and now you got the FM signal, and you're getting 25,000 and 25,000. You're getting 50,000. You're not going to pick up listeners.
No. I mean, if they aren't listening to KNBR already, they're not listening to KNBR.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be more convenient. No, it won't, because an AM signal is far easier to pick up than an FM signal. You got to have an antenna for an FM signal. So, I mean, but the only reason it happened, I don't know, is that Cumulus, I think, that owns that station?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they're going broke. And they've been selling off stations. They sold off WABC here in New York.
Right?
Huh?
KLOS.
They sold KLOS. They've sold a lot of these legacies. Oh, WPLJ here in New York, the station I work for.
Yeah.
Just went they sold it to somebody, and it went all religion. This was a legacy rock station. Went all religion. So I mean, it's terrible what's happened to her. There is no radio. I tell people when they say I'm in radio, I says there is no radio. There's the internet. But that's a clusterfuck. There's so many people in it that how the fuck are you going to compete for ears in that situation? They're like two people making money off the podcast, and the rest are just claiming to. So. But as you say, it's all changed. I mean,
it seems like a time suck.
What happens with you? You go into a town, and then you look for the local. You used to look for the local radio station to do some stuff with, like a morning show to plug your gig.
Doesn't happen anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody has comedians on in the morning, or they don't have morning shows any longer.
Well, it's a dearth of both, but also I'm not on Comedy Central, so the hot radio stations, the rock and roll stations, the top trending stations, I can go on News Talk because I do political stuff. Yeah. So but that's about it. They don't want somebody my age on their little radio show.
That's interesting because ageism in comedy always was amazing to me because, to begin with, we always used to revere the older comics as being the really good ones, because
they get better. You get better.
You get better with your craft. And I just couldn't see how it mattered whether you were older or not. But I bet you, what's his name? Louis Black, who's an old comic.
Yeah.
I bet he's having a harder time getting gigs now.
Huh.
I'll bet you. Do you see him that often with specials?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And he's maybe one of the best.
I think he exceeded his wildest dreams. So.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely did.
So he can cool down now, and everybody knows who he is.
Because I had him on my show on Sirius a couple of years ago, on a couple of occasions. And the first time he was on, he says, I've done your show before. I said, when? He's in San Francisco. He was one of the guys that traveled through,
Yeah.
He said, but you probably don't remember me because I wasn't doing the same act. He says, a few years later, somebody gave me the advice, start screaming, and I started screaming, and I got popular. He said, my advice to any comic is start screaming. Because to begin with, you're going to be the headliner because nobody wants to follow you. Right? He said, and secondly, people pay attention to that. He says that's why I do the rant. But I mean, I just don't think of age as I mean, hell, Rickles was funny till the day he died, and he was in his 90s.
Comics get funnier.
Yeah.
The only two arts that are allowed to age are graphic arts. Everybody wants the old artist, and blues musicians. Everybody wants to see the old classic blues musician.
Nobody wants a teenage blues musician. It's like, you're singing about life. I mean, what do you fucking know about life, you little punk, you? Oh.
Yeah, I love these kids. I've been waiting for this my entire life. You're 17.
I went to the newest Avengers movie, and it wasn't very good. I mean, what are you going to sing about? What do you have? What do you got? You want Blind Lemon, Jew boy.
Hurt. Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, it's just amazing. Do you get to feel? We'll take a few extra minutes here. Do you get to feel your age after a while? I mean, with the world around you, and that it just doesn't seem to make much sense anymore.
No, I'm trying to consume it every day, and so to see all the intricacies of how it expands and what's contracting and how it's changing.
But that's nice observation.
I don't notice it. I don't
really, but you don't.
All I know is not being able to get up after I fall down as quick as I used to be able to, or not being able to see things as well.
No, but do you ever have those moments where you go, when I was a boy?
Always.
Of course. So that's what I'm saying. That and I'm beginning to think. I grew up in a time where you had the McCarthy hearings, and you had the House Un-American Activity Subcommittee, and you had all kinds of things, right? And yet, it was the 50s, and it was kind of like, I was a kid growing up in Marin County. It was like La La Land. The world was a wonderful place in which to live, and it was very simple, So,
we had 4 TV channels.
4, it's 3. What do you mean 4? Wait a minute, did we have 4? Yeah, you usually had 3 network and an independent.
Right.
And that was it. And you know what was good about that? You really didn't have much of a choice, so therefore you had to get along with what you had. You didn't sit there going, gee, I wish there were more channels, because you couldn't even envision more channels.
And you know what? There's good TV on. People learned how to make good TV, or the good guys got access finally.
Well, you know what was great
why did TV suck for so many years?
Well, the reason it started to suck, here's the problem. In the beginning, you had a bunch of people trying to invent the medium. They've been handed this medium, but they didn't know what the fuck to do with it. And the first thing they did was try and take radio shows and make them into TV shows.
Or theater.
Then somebody learned that you could do something like I Love Lucy and have your own hits that were basically television shows and not recreations of old radio shows. But in the early days, you could go on television. Ernie Kovacs is a good example. An experiment doing any wild-ass thing you wanted to do, and because it was TV and it moved.
And it was cheap.
So it was a time when you could experiment with a medium. That's why I liked cable so much in the early days and did Midnight Blue, because it was I had always yearned for the day where I could find a medium that was ready to be defined. And I defined it with blowjobs. What can I say? So. Anyway, hey, listen, we've run out of a lot of time here, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Will.
For sure, the honor's mine.
And let's do it.
You take care. Stay warm in September in New York, and let's do this again in a couple of
weeks. We will, ladies and gentlemen. The lovely and attractive Will Durst.
5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And here we are back again. Thank you very much, Will. You know what I did? That thing was recorded early today. Okay, that was. Let me turn up my sound a little bit. It was recorded earlier today, And so I had the shirt on, and I had this on, and I had the hat on. So I took the shirt off, put it away, put on another shirt, and then just before I went on the air, I got into this so I would match with the video. Hold on a second, see if you look, ladies and gentlemen,
there?
out to San
There?
Francisco.
No, we're not going out to San Francisco, are we?
Same outfit.
We'll do
No.
it.
See, same outfit. So there you go. Anyway, let me see here. I don't turn on the Skype until we're ready to go now. I've learned that lesson. And I'm hoping that it comes up. There we go. Let me see here. Yep, the Cabinet Live. Oops. Oh, that's somebody from the last show. Let me open up the Skype line so that you can all call me. And, oh boy. The allergies. They're really getting to me. I have my eye stuff here, and I have cream. This eye cream. They made this eye cream. It's artificial tears ointment, and we bought it on. I got it when I was in the hospital for my little dealie, what do you call it? The stones. Oh well, hold on a second before we do that. With the stones, they gave me this for my eyes because that dry air in the hospital was making it very difficult for me to not have a rough eye. So they gave me that stuff, and I used it and liked it so much. Hello there. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's say hello to Josh Wheeler. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Anyway, let me explain. So I had the eye. They gave me this eye stuff, right? So what the hell? It sounded and it worked. It kept my eyes from getting all burny and things like that. And I took it home, and then we went online to Amazon and we bought the stuff. And every time our eyes got really dry, we used this stuff, which was just terrific. All of a sudden, it's not on the market anymore. It was just taken off. And I looked at it, and it looked like. Let's see, answering this call will place your current call on hold and can merge, or you can merge calls. Well, I'm going to merge a call, but this is just an audio only. Who is this? Who is this that we're talking to? Hello?
You'll hang up on me really soon.
Oh, no.
But
Go
anyway,
away. Go away. Go away. Go away.
I'm prepping for a hurricane.
Go away. Just go
Prepping for a
away.
hurricane.
I said go away. Okay, remove from call. Here we go. There we go. That was, I just don't want to even hear from him. You know? Oh, yeah, he's in the hurricane. Well, I hope it blows you away, okay? Was that nice of me, Josh?
Well, he had it coming, I guess. Maybe he's suffering the consequences of his past actions.
Of his past actions and of his present actions. A while back, he called, and he did something, and I said, "Hang up," and he said, "No." You know, well, when you say
I must
that,
have missed it. I don't mind when he calls, but it is your show.
It is my
show. He has
show.
been asked to not do certain things in the past, and then he does them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So you should learn.
It's your show. It's your show.
Yeah, you should learn by your lessons.
Right.
So it's going to be just you and I tonight, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I thought maybe there was something wrong because I didn't see any other people. But is that the case? Or there?
You're the first
one
one
else
here.
No Phil?
Huh? No Phil tonight. No.
That's you normally get more calls.
I get more calls when Phil's not here. But what the hell? I don't know.
I don't know what's going on. There's no football or anything yet. What's going on?
No. There's tennis. Which I've had to like suffer this last 2 weeks. I mean, it's like girlfriend can't say, "Hey, I'll watch this match and I'll watch that match." No, she's got to watch every match. And I go, "Do you really have to?" Oh yeah, you got to watch everything. So she watches every match. And I got her ESPN Plus so she could watch every match, But for 1 month, then I get rid of it. What?
I don't really watch tennis. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, I used to watch Wimbledon in the summer when I was out of school when I was a kid. You know, because we had HBO and it was always on. I think they always had it, but I'm not really a big fan. I
Well,
used to play a lot when I was
I don't
young.
know that
but
I was a big fan of just about anything in spectator sports.
yeah,
You know, I mean, if I liked anything, if there was anything that I could watch, it was baseball.
yeah,
You know, I like baseball from the standpoint that I just found it a very relaxing game, you know, to watch. You know, I found I hated football because football was just too klutzy. You know, it was a
yeah.
bunch of guys ramming into each other.
Well, that's my favorite. So
That is your favorite.
yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, I love baseball too, but you know, I watch both pretty much. You know, all year round, depending on what's on. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder to the Reds and the Bengals, so
Yeah.
I put a lot of money into both. But football's probably, you know, football's probably my favorite.
Really? What is
Yeah,
it?
I think
What is
so.
it about football? I mean, I find it. You know, I guess I said it. I consider it kind of a klutzy game.
Yeah,
You know, it's a bunch of brutish guys out there bumping into each other. You know,
yeah,
where baseball
like
is
that.
baseball's a skill.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, football is a lot more mentally involved than people think, though. I mean, the success of some of the best people of all time were because they basically. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like Tom Brady has lasted as long as he has because he has outthought the competition in terms of. I mean, he's skilled, you know.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, and he's athletic, but I'm just saying, very similar to Peyton Manning, and it's kind of hard to explain to someone, you know, if you don't watch a lot of football, but. You know, I think that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, for the most part, knew where they were going to throw the football before they ever even had the football in their hands. They just knew. They
Mhm.
just they just read a defense and you know they just react to what they saw, and then you know they're right. You know, 9 times out of 10. You know, I mean, and which is why they've been so. You know, both of them were so successful. I mean, so football's pretty. Actually, it's football is a pretty mental game, actually, in terms of the way both offenses and defenses disguise what they're going to do and change it right before the snap, and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a lot you could say about it, but I mean, I think most people like it, and I like it the best because the game experience is better than baseball because it is
In what respect?
fast action.
In what respect? The action?
Yeah. I mean, you know, every play, at least in my experience, and I've been to many NFL games.
Mhm.
Every play there is just this anticipation that the next play could be big that there really isn't with baseball. I mean, and I love baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just football has done a really good job at the crowd experience and just getting everybody into the game, and it just seems like everybody is always on edge at an NFL game, which I like. I mean, everybody's just waiting to explode with either, you know, joy or anger, one or the other, depending on, you know,
Yeah.
who you're rooting for and what happens.
Yeah.
And baseball just isn't. They just don't do a very good job with that. I mean,
Well,
some teams do,
let me explain something to you.
maybe.
Let me explain something to you. Do you remember there was a time when baseball was the national pastime and football was kind of like an also ran?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
right. Long time ago, sure.
Yeah.
And even not that long ago in some ways.
I would say back when I was growing up as a kid. Okay. Let me bring in Jeff here. Let me put Jeff's picture up. There we go. Here comes Jeff, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. Okay. When I was a kid, baseball was the big sport. Okay, and let me explain to you why. Baseball was a sport that was exciting on radio, which was the predominant medium of the age. Because a guy could, you didn't even really have to, you didn't even actually have to be at the baseball game. Just get the line scores and then make up how exciting it was. You know, that baseball was a visual sport when you were listening to radio. When it made it to TV, TV needs something much faster than baseball. In fact, they made some changes to baseball to make it move faster on television, but it never quite worked the way football did. But football became big with television, with the advent of television, because it was a very television-friendly sport. So, you know, basically, baseball, I mean, you're sitting there waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And when you're there, it can be a little bit, you know, I mean, a little bit boring. I mean, I don't mind it as much, and I don't care if they speed up the game or slow the game down, because I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about one thing only, and that's winning. You know?
Well,
I mean,
I like,
if it takes us 5 hours to win a game, I don't fucking care.
I like the fact that baseball is a boring game. Let me explain this to you. What I like about baseball is I'm not a big fan. I can't tell you even who's winning this year or anything like that, or any statistics. I don't even know some of the players. But I do know that I enjoy, if somebody says to me, you want to go to the baseball game, I got some tickets, I go, yeah, absolutely. Right. Because I love sitting there with friends, watching this thing. It was just very pastoral, all right? Takes place in a big meadow, all right? And you sit around and nothing happens. For a long time, nothing happens. For ages, it seems like nothing happens. But in the meantime, you're talking with your friends, you're having hot dogs, you're having some beers, you're having some camaraderie. Then all of a sudden, out on that field, something magic happens, and boom, you're excited, and the person runs here, and they slide into first base, and then it's back to waiting again.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how
it's a very leisurely game, and it's a great way to relax. Yes, Jeff.
But it's also a social game, and it's not even the people who play.
Yeah.
It's the people who are just sitting there next to their brother-in-law, or you know, their girlfriend, or a guy who he kind of knew. I know him, but I never knew him very much.
Yeah.
But during that game, for what, 5 hours, you get to learn a lot that person, don't you?
Yeah. And
I mean, that's kind of what I was saying. Is the difference is just like, I mean, when I go to the baseball game, you know, I usually go by myself, and I don't really use my seat. I just kind of wander around. I usually stand out. They got some areas in center field where you can lean up against the thing. They got a place for your drink and all that. And it's just like, I have my phone out a lot, and I look at Twitter, and I, you know, look at the, you know, like, and then it's time for the pitch. I look up, see what happens. Okay, it was a ball or it was a strike, you know, kind of checking. But like when I go to the football game, I don't. My phone's not out of my pocket. It's maybe out of my pocket like twice in the whole game, and that's usually just because I want to check scores of the other games. You know, I mean, so it's just different.
Football is an exciting game, but it's based on that excitement. You know, all I'm saying is the reason why baseball didn't do as well once television came in is that football was the ultimate television sport. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think basketball, is that a television sport? No.
I don't really watch it. I mean, there are a lot of people that do, but, you know, I will say that, like, one of the things that football has done pretty good that baseball hasn't been able to do is football has been able to keep more of their teams in the hunt way deeper into the season than baseball teams. I mean, basically, you have a lot of baseball teams that are terrible, and everyone knows they're going to be terrible, and they're terrible from the first day until the last day. But in football, in week 12 or week 13, you might only have one or two teams that you can say are definitely done. Stick a fork in them, you know, they're finished.
Right.
So, you know, the games that you're at mean something. So that's what I was going to say was, when the Cincinnati Reds went to the playoffs 3 times in 5 years, and the 2 years that they didn't make it, they were very close. Those games that I attended those 5 years were a lot more like the football games that I attended, because everybody was more on edge, because they were, every night was, even in the middle of June, you know, they're in first place, It's a big fucking game. And football has that going for them all season long.
Yeah, well, with baseball, usually the most exciting part of the baseball game is the last inning.
Yeah.
If things are kind of close.
Right.
Right? And then it becomes very tense and it becomes very exciting. But I think you go to it for different reasons. And I think, like Jeff said, it's a far more social game.
Yep.
Yeah. Charlie, you're a sports guy, aren't you? You're into watching sports.
Oh yeah, I like football and baseball.
Yeah. Which do you like better?
Probably football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it! Poor baseball. Poor baseball.
I like baseball. I go to the D-backs games. I mean, I watch all the games on TV when on TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just different. But I mean, in 2011, 2012, for example, when the Reds were winning and they had, like you said, the end of the game was where it's really at, and they had Aroldis Chapman, who's in New York now, as their closer.
Yeah.
Left-handed, he's going to come in, he's throwing 103, 104, 105. I mean, when the Reds were batting in the bottom of the eighth and they were up, by a run or whatever, all they had to do was just put up on the scoreboard a little video of him warming up in the pen, which everybody knew he was anyway. But as soon as they would put it up, I mean, the fucking place would just go apeshit because they knew, it's almost like, I don't even want us to score any more runs. Fuck it, just bring his ass in here and let's get this shit over with. Because you knew he was going to come in and just fucking dominate the other side.
The problem with me in sports was that when I was a kid, my father wasn't into sports. He was into boxing. He loved to watch boxing. They used to have the Friday night fights on television because in those days television needed all the programming they could get, and two guys getting in a ring and beating the shit out of each other seemed like a good idea, right? And it was cheap entertainment. They didn't have to do much. And my father always watched the Friday night fights. And one time I said to him, Dad, you're the most decent person I know. You're the most non-violent person I know. And yet when it comes to Friday nights, you love sitting there watching this and yelling and screaming at the screen. I said, what is it? He says, well, I just like to watch two guys get into a ring, beat the crap out of each other, and be glad I'm not one of them.
Yeah. That's true.
But boxing was very big in those days because any sport that would take up time and didn't cost much money was okay. So you had the Friday night fights sponsored by Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. You had wrestling. You had roller derby. Talk about a boring game. A roller derby's, there's no good seat in the entire house, because they just go by you, and that's it. You've seen your part of the game.
Yeah. I mean, football's just, I don't know. I mean, if Charlie's been to a football game live, he can probably tell you. I don't know. There's just something about.
Oh yeah.
I mean, especially late in the game, and it's third down, and defense is on the field, and they ring that fucking gong for third down, and I mean everybody, and it's just like, I just want them to fucking kill the other guy's quarterback and that fucking cockhead fucking fumble, and we can fucking pick it up and score. You know what I mean? It's just like, fucking, let's go. I mean,
well, the funny part about it is, let me give you another thing about me. I don't know how football's played. Now, I know that sounds strange to you, that there's anybody in America who doesn't know how football is played, but I've never been able to get exactly what's going on. And as much as I have watched it, I still don't understand what's going on. And I've had some of the biggest football players of all time, people in San Francisco with the 49ers and so on.
If Jerry Rice couldn't explain it to you.
Jerry Rice was on my show trying to explain football to me. I just said, please tell me in a simple way how this game is played. And he got about 2 seconds into it, and the first minute he says the word down. And I go, what the fuck is a down? It's like they jump from this point to that point, and they miss me somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, what's a down? I don't know what a down is. It's on a fucking duck.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one thing though, but like football, whatever it is, football, baseball, whatever. At least that hasn't changed. Is like especially for me with football, like all week, you're working, and then if no matter when you work, but like most people work during the day, in the evening it's the news and and Trump, or this, that, and the other, and then and even years ago, if it wasn't Trump, it was somebody else, and then so for me, it's finally like, and when the fall hits on Sunday, it's just like I just want to go the whole day and not hear about that fucker or any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All I want to do is watch this fucking football game.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of the other stuff right now. It's like it'll all be there tomorrow.
Well, I think it's so I've never been able to get the game, and I've had people come on, like Jerry Rice, for instance, who explained the game to me, and I just they just couldn't explain it to me. So then later on, I went and won a sports Emmy, and everybody wanted me to give it back, And I'm not giving it back. I like saying I've got a sports Emmy, because it just pisses the shit out of every sports person in the business, But anyway, so but I'm tired today. Oh yes, Jeff.
So I heard some stuff on TV, I think it was, and they're talking about all these people with guns and you should be able to go into this store, but you can't bring your gun there, but you can buy the bullets, but you can't.
You can't buy the bullets. You can buy the gun. That's the
whatever.
That's kind of like saying, "I'll sell you the razor, but no blades for you."
Yeah. But the next thing is, the lady goes and she's talking, and she goes, "Well, my cousin is a real sportsman."
Yeah.
And I said, "What the fuck does that mean? You take a gun and you shoot somebody, or do you shoot a dog? Or I'm not a dog, but by accident probably. But what the hell are they doing? It's like
no. You can go out and
so strange.
You can get this. You can go out and you can kill a deer, but if you shoot a dog, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All these people talk about, I need my gun for sport. And I said, well, how do you do that? And, I go out and I hunt deer. Well, how do you do that? Well, we get in the deer blind, and then we wait for them to come over to lick some salt that we've laid out for them, and we blow their fucking antlers off. Now, how you call that a sport? How is that sporting? I mean, you want to make it a sport. Strap some antlers on your head and go off after the deer on his own terms.
The deer should have guns too.
Deer, if they could, But I mean, I don't consider killing little animals sport. I know that's getting a lot of you out there pissed off at me. I can see me getting some people unfollowing me from Facebook for saying that. But really, there's nothing sporting about what they consider being a sportsman with a gun. But what happened is that at Walmart, they felt they had to take some kind of action. Why? Because people got killed in their store by somebody with a gun. Okay? So they had to do something about it. So they didn't want to piss off the gun owners, but they didn't want to piss off the people who want them to get rid of guns. So what they did was they got rid of the bullets and said, if you're going to come into our store, please do not carry your gun as a sidearm. Please put it away, okay, so we can't see it. It's not open carry. Well, have they done much? No, they've done absolutely not a fucking goddamn thing. They've just tried to appease the NRA people while at the same time appeasing all the people who wanted to get rid of the guns. But they're not getting rid of the guns, and they're, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. How do you feel about this issue, Josh? I mean,
well, The Walmart specifically, you mean?
Well, Walmart and guns in general, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not for the banning of all guns. I mean, I'm just not. I mean, I have traveled extensively throughout the country, and there are certain places that I can understand why a person would want to own a weapon. Now, I said, a gun or a weapon. I didn't say, a fucking mass destruction weapon of war, I mean, I'm just saying, my wife and I travel a lot, and we're going to travel a lot more. And I can just tell you that some of the places that we're going to go and stay, in the airstream that I pull behind our vehicle, I mean, I'm going to have a fucking weapon, because it's you just don't know where you are. And I mean, we go places where you could legitimately be eaten by a bear. I mean,
well,
so,
now here,
I mean,
I was going to mention that. I had a friend, Bruce David, and Bruce was always against guns and everything. And then he moved up to the mountains.
Yeah.
And he bought a gun.
Yeah.
I said, "Why'd you buy a gun?" He said, "Because there are bears around here."
Yeah.
And
then, right. And I mean, and just like our last trip out west, I mean, we drove places in Montana and Wyoming, and you would see a house out there. And I'm thinking, yeah, if I lived in that house, I would have to be armed. I mean, for animals and for people. I mean, if anyone comes around in some of the areas that we went through, it's not like where I live and you can call the police. I mean, like, we went through places that if you called, first of all, it's going to be a sheriff, and they're not coming for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, it's hard to explain if people haven't traveled in some of those areas. If you haven't driven some of the back roads through Montana and Wyoming and Idaho and places like that, the sheriff isn't getting to your house for half of an hour. So now the chances of something like that actually happening in somewhere like that are very, very minimal. But I'm okay with people being allowed to own a weapon for protection. But a weapon for protection, in my opinion, is not an out and out assault rifle, and especially a modified one that is basically made to kill, people as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. That's not what I'm talking about.
Well, you don't know how many you don't know how many bears are coming at you at one
right,
time.
Exactly. Right. So, yeah, I mean, handgun is fine. I mean, certain other kinds of hunting rifles and things of that nature. I don't want to ban and melt down all weapons. I mean, I've never felt that way. I mean, and then there are just certain people in this world that need to be shot. And there are just certain things,
something. If you have a kid. You don't have any kids. I don't have any kids.
Right.
Charlie, you have any kids?
3.
3. Okay. You have kids and they do something bad. They have a toy and they use it all wrong, and they're whatever. You stop them from using it, right? You put them on timeout with the particular toy. I think Americans have proven they don't know how to use guns properly. That they don't know how to respect the gun ownership and the right to own a gun. And if they were responsible in it, we wouldn't have people going nuts over these things. I mean, when they're available, they're the first, especially now, the first thing people will use to get it at even with other people. Mm-hmm. And I just think that we have to be in a timeout. I mean, look at Canada. They're really responsible gun users. They don't have that many gun deaths up there every year, probably hardly any at all. If they are, they're accidental. They don't have this problem in a lot of other countries, but we have it here. We have some kind of mania about guns. And it makes no sense to me. Guns scare the shit out of me, because I've told you the story before about how I had somebody pointing a gun at me for almost an hour, cocked in my face when I was a kid. And after that, I didn't think very much of guns after that. And by the way, if I had had a gun, there was nothing I could have done about it. So, I mean, I can see guns. For instance, if I lived in the hills of Montana, I could see it because there might be some predators that I have to, and I would probably have a rifle in that particular case. There are predators who would probably be a problem to me. David Letterman tells the story about he has a home in Montana, and he was in the house one night and he heard some noise and he went downstairs. There was a bear in his fucking kitchen.
Yeah.
And he literally had to get out of the house, get in the car, and go find some animal people to come back and try and round up the bear. But by that time, he was gone.
Yeah,
and
does happen.
But if you're living in the mountains like that, you perhaps need a gun. Yeah, for that, but not for anything else. Yes, Jeff.
We occasionally have bears around here where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that they come here is because people put food outside. Food.
Yeah.
And they're hungry. And they're hungry, particularly around, I guess it's March.
Yeah.
It's the time for them when they were asleep and now they wake up and they're hungry and need some food. So everybody who does that all of a sudden realizes there's bears here. What the heck is going on? And they tell them, hey, don't put stuff outside. And then guess what?
Yeah.
The bears go away.
Yeah, well, bears basically are just looking for food.
That's right.
They're not looking to eat people or anything like that.
Right.
So
you're right.
You don't need a gun. You need a brain. A little bit of knowledge.
By the way,
that's true, but I mean, just like, but we visit a lot of the national parks and stuff. So I mean, we've been out, Yellowstone, Grand Teton, and up to Glacier and those kinds of places. And I mean, there is a chance, that you can come across wildlife, that can harm you or kill you, and you have to take steps for that if you're going to go out, on some of the trails and hike or whatever. And even at night, I mean, some of the campgrounds that you stay at are like, you can't tent camp, for example. You have to have a hard-sided camper because the area is so well known for bear activity, and a tent isn't going to do anything for you. So I mean, it just depends where you are. But even like where I live,
but you see what you're doing is you're giving very real scenarios where a gun would be needed, and not once have you mentioned a human predator.
Right.
But
right, but that's what I was gonna say though but like I live in a residential neighborhood, and it's very safe. We don't live in a large city or anything. I mean, not that all large cities are crime infested or anything. I'm just saying it's a very small farm community, very rural area, and you would be having a totally different argument with most of the residents that live in my town. I mean, most of those residents that live here think they have the right to own, pretty much anything that man can manufacture, and how how dare you tell them they can't. And I guess what I was saying was I even feel like here though you should have the right to own a weapon, in my opinion, and I do believe that's constitutionally protected, but that doesn't mean any and all weapons. I mean, one 9mm handgun that can hold 14 bullets is totally different than an assault rifle that I can basically lock myself in my house and hold the police off for days at a time because I've got 6 or 8 dozen of them and ammunition stacked up everywhere that you can look. And I can, they basically going to have to shoot a missile in my fucking house before they can get in.
Okay, but here then comes the big question, and that is, could we make a law where we say, yes, you're entitled to have a gun, one gun? Okay.
I think we probably could.
Yeah, one gun. That's your right, to have one gun. But there are more guns in this country than there are people.
Yep.
Some people have 10, 20 guns. Mm-hmm. They should only be. You should only be allowed to own one gun, and if you're found that you own 2 guns, off to jail you go.
Yeah.
And if you made that a law, maybe there'd be less guns out there for people to lay their hands on. And then you also wouldn't be violating the Second Amendment, which everybody, I don't know, we seem to take that amendment more seriously than we take any of the others.
Yes, I agree with that.
The right of free speech isn't as assiduously enforced as the Second Amendment is.
Sure.
And
the amendment that might get violated the most by the government is probably the Fourth Amendment, and yet most people don't care, right? I mean, government probably infringes on your privacy more than they ever do your right to own any sort of weapon.
Right.
And yet everyone's always obsessed with the one about the weapon and not the one about your privacy. But maybe that's what allows the government to get away with it, is the fact that people are distracted.
Yeah, but isn't that amazing though that we are so pathologically sick in this country that Second Amendment has become an obsession over, say, the Fourth Amendment about privacy.
Right.
When I think we should care about privacy over owning a gun. I don't care if you want to take away my right to own a gun. I'll live with that. I don't have any need for a gun.
Yeah. I mean that would be my thing about like owning a weapon is a lot of people want to own a weapon with the express purpose of using it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're allowed to hunt, and I can understand that one, a little bit. But if I went to somewhere and I bought a 9mm handgun and I put some bullets in it and I put it in the drawer next to the bed, my goal would be for that gun to still be in the same spot when I died, right? Because I don't want to have a confrontation where I have to shoot someone.
Well, here are a couple.
I will, but I don't want to.
Here are a couple of questions, though. Let's say you have a gun, and let's say there is an intruder. There are far many more abilities you need once you have that gun and you have it for protection like that. When somebody enters into the situation, number one, most people who own a gun, when an intruder walks in and push comes to shove and they got to pull that trigger, can't do it.
Yeah.
And when that happens, there maybe wasn't a gun, maybe the other guy didn't have a gun, but now he knows where there is one and it's in your hand. Okay? Yeah. More people get killed by their own guns at the hands of other people than you could possibly imagine. And what you do is that when you have a gun, and now there is an in-house invasion, and maybe that person doesn't have a gun, okay? They just want to come in and rob your house, okay? Now you've brought a gun into the equation. And unless you're ready to use that gun with impunity, I'm afraid you're going to get killed by your own gun.
That is a possibility. I mean, I can tell you that my philosophy on it is, and the way I practice it is, I mean, if I have to, I will shoot someone. And I can tell you right now that I will fucking sleep fine. But if you break into my home, basically, like I live in a 2-story home, and you break into my home in the middle of the night, and you're milling around downstairs, I'm going to call the police. And you stay down there and you want to try to steal whatever you want, I will let them handle it. But I tell you what, you come up the fucking steps where I'm at and where my fucking wife is at, you fucking will be shot. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if the guy sees the gun,
I'm not fucking waiting.
But if the guy sees the gun and then he stops, are you going to fire?
If you come off those fucking steps, I'm not asking any fucking questions.
See, I don't know that I could pull the
trigger. I'm armed. Leave this house immediately, and if you don't turn around and fucking leave, I'm not fucking waiting.
Why not shoot for the legs?
Well, I mean,
are you going to shoot to kill, Josh? Is the question.
Hey, look, if you can do it, I think 2 in the chest and 1 in the head is perfectly fucking acceptable. I just think, this is my fucking home.
Damn it! I was thinking of robbing.
I was here, and you were warned.
I was thinking of coming out and robbing your house. Damn it! Now I guess I've changed my mind.
I'm just, it's just like, I'm up here, my wife's up here.
Yeah.
You want to stay downstairs and you want to take personal property, the police can handle that, but you come up those fucking steps and you turn that corner, you broke into my home, I'm going to warn you that I'm armed, you need to leave immediately or I will fire.
Oh, okay. Now you're saying you will warn. Okay, so
I mean,
you wouldn't just shoot and ask questions.
No, because I think I've seen too many stories of that where like someone's kid came home breaking curfew and they've shot their own kid. I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna say, who are you? I'm armed. I'm gonna fire. You need, and if it's it's your dad. I didn't want to wake you, or I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean that. People do that all the time. I mean, I don't know how many times I think we read a story about that once or twice a year. And
I'm your son, Marvin Gaye, and yeah.
So, but no, I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't have a problem with people having that right, to personal protection. Now, I know there are some people that listen to you that think that I'm crazy, that I'm going too far with that, and I mean, I respect, the fact that they think.
I understand where you're coming from.
Own a weapon.
In my case, I couldn't do it. I know I couldn't shoot and perhaps kill somebody.
I understand that.
That would live with me till the day I died.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, me, I just, it wouldn't me. I'm not big on people, like now I could like clip a bunny rabbit in the road and I would feel bad for like 2 days, I mean, because it didn't do anything to me, but like a human being, I could gun someone down that broke into my home and fucking throw the body out on the porch.
When I was 16 and I first got my license to drive, I accidentally ran over a cat as he was running across the street in the middle of the night.
That'd be bad.
And to this day, I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm just one of these people that goes, guns. I just don't understand it. I don't understand our preoccupation.
I get it. I mean, I guess I'm okay with the middle road. It's just we just have to get more people that would be more middle of the road, like I probably am. But it just seems like people think it has to be like all or nothing.
Okay, but for a moment, forgetting the Constitution, do you think that there are some people that shouldn't have the right to bear arms?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what do we do about them, and how do we get those people? Get guns away from those people, because you got the NRA sitting there going, they don't even like what Walmart's doing right now.
Yes.
And what Walmart's doing is just a pussy move on their part to try and keep people happy.
Yeah, I mean, the government has the right to remove rights from individuals under special circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, felons can't vote, right? I mean, in most cases, or did we change that recently?
I think
still most states.
Right. So, I mean, you can have your right to happiness, your pursuit of happiness, taken away from you.
By the way, the Bill of Rights does not guarantee the pursuit of happiness. It guarantees the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
Yes, Jeff.
Well, one of the things we haven't discussed is that there's a number of people who kill themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? They do a lot of damage, not necessarily to themselves, but for the rest of their family.
Let's talk for a moment about suicide. When people take a gun and blow their brains out with a gun, it's a hostile move on their part. And it's not hostile towards themselves. It's hostile towards the people that are going to find the body.
Yep.
Okay, because that is a memory that is going to linger with them for the rest of their lives. If you truly wanted to commit suicide and not bother anybody else, one of the best ways to go to the top of a mountain that's freezing and just freeze to death because it's painless, okay? And then nobody finds you except later on they might find your body, But people who hang themselves, shoot themselves in the head, they all want somebody to find their body and be bothered by that. And it's an antisocial measure. Yeah. I don't care if you want to kill yourself. I think suicide is an acceptable form of self-defense, But if you want to kill yourself, then do it in a manner that doesn't affect other people. And, it's funny. I had my friend Steve died a couple of years ago, and we went to the hospital right after he died, and he was lying in bed. and he was dead. They were waiting for the whoever to come and take the body away, right? And he, for some reason, when he died with his mouth open. So he was lying there kind of like, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never forget that. I wish I had not seen him that way because, you know, I'd like to remember Steve as I remembered him, not lying there in bed, dead with his mouth open. So it's and nobody could close it shut because rigor had set in and it was hard to close the mouth, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, to come in and see somebody dead is something that's going to linger with you from the rest of you. Anybody here ever have that happen? Were you in a room where somebody was dead?
Not me, but
yeah. Well,
somebody else I know.
It lingers. It definitely lingers, you know. Oh, wait a minute. I got something to show you. This is fun. This is fun. You don't say I don't earn a living, okay? Don't say I don't have an income. I just got this. Okay, I don't know if you can see it.
It's like a bank statement.
Well, it is kind of like a bank statement. What it is, it's a residual statement to Bennett Schwarzman, sent to my business manager from home box office. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes Phil. Phil wasn't supposed to be here tonight, but I guess he heard us talking about this stuff, and damn it.
I just came back from the dead.
Yeah. Let me see here. Scuba diver. There we go. Okay. And let me put that up there. Okay. But first, I'm going to show people this. This is from Home Box Office. Production title: One Night Stand. Comments: Run 205 with Bill Maher. Okay. What I did is I was the announcer on the opening of the Bill Maher Home Box Office show. If you ever see One Night Stand with Bill Maher, the announcer at the very beginning is me. Okay? And for years, I've been getting checks for this. I mean, I did this show in 1983, 84, something like that. I've been getting residual checks for, 30 years?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does amount to something. I'm still getting them, okay, for Bill Maher's. They don't show any of the others. I did like 7 of them, and they don't run any of the others anymore. But I get them for Bill Maher. They keep running his. Thank you, Bill, for getting yourself a show on HBO so they feel they have to keep running it. You ready for this? $437. Year-to-date, $509.38. The taxable amount is $437.25. How much do you think they deducted from that $437.25?
20%.
20%, that would be what, $100?
$80, $90.
Try $162.88.
Oh, you're in New York.
No, that isn't the reason. The reason is what they do is, I'm trying to remember how they compute this, but they compute it as a 1-week check, and then they prorate it over, if I was making this every week for a year, how much would my taxes be?
Yeah.
And so it's more than it should realistically be, you know. But anyway, so I paid, $162.88 in taxes, netting me, something like $319.54. Thank you very much, Bill Maher.
At least it wasn't a bill.
I get one of these every year, you know. Yeah. I got one from Bill Maher about a half a year ago, or maybe 3 months ago, or something like that, and it was for $3.86. So, anyway, that's what residuals just keep on paying. Just keep on paying. How many years is that now? God.
How much does Bill Maher get for the same?
Oh,
same
well,
show?
I remember the show because I had a fight with Bill Maher. Because he brought me, I tell you this, I've told the story before that he called me into his dressing room and said, "You do the opening out there, right?" And I did what we call the studio warm-up, right? And he says, "Do you do any political jokes?" I said, "Well, I do a few political things to get them to cheer and to applaud and things like that, so that we then have wild tracks for that in case you're not funny and we have to, make it sound like they were laughing at you." And he said, "Well, don't do that. I do political." And I looked back at him and I said, "Listen, I know what you're getting for this. You're getting $20,000 for this special. You know what I'm getting?" He said, "No, what?" I said, "I'm getting $300 for doing the warm-up." I said, "Follow me, motherfucker," and I walked out. Yeah, and that's my remembrance of Bill Maher. But hey, it kept paying me money, So over the years, I've made several $1,000s off that thing,
Was that the last time you opened for Bill Maher?
That's the last time I opened for Bill Maher, yeah. And but what a fucking prick he is,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he never was liked very much in Hollywood by anybody. Maybe he's been better to people now. So, did you hear us? We were talking about guns, Phil. Your ears burning or something?
Yeah, I was listening on the way back from the photo thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think about my idea that you can own a gun but only one?
Well, if you look at the Constitution, it says right to bear arms with a
plural,
S. Yeah. It is plural, And, I don't see that any one part of the Constitution is any less important than the other.
Well, but we tend to put much more emphasis on the Second Amendment than, as Josh said, than we do to the Fourth Amendment.
Well, nobody's trying to take away the Fourth Amendment.
I would disagree with that, but
what do you mean? Yeah. They're constantly trying to take away the Fourth Amendment, or at least they're trying to, impinge on it.
Well,
I'm trying to take away the 14th Amendment.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And what can you say about a Constitution in which, and I never got this one. We had, which amendment was the Prohibition Amendment?
19th, I think.
19th. 19th, and then
I think so.
And then they
18th Amendment.
18 and 21st.
Oh, okay. So
gave women the right to vote.
So they pass an amendment, the 18th, which still exists. Okay, it still exists. But then they go to the 21st and they repeal the 18th. So if they repealed the 18th, shouldn't they just have torn it up and thrown it away?
It's kind of like the 13th floor. They got buildings where there's no 13th floor.
Say, what's the 18th Amendment? Well, it used to be an amendment, but there's nothing there right now. Yeah. But, I always thought that when you tell us how wonderful the Constitution is and how it's so perfect. Fact is, it's not a perfect document at all. Most of that stuff was written by slave owners, maybe the right to bear arms was more to keep the blacks in place and keep them from, acting up than to.
I think it was more to keep the government in place.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Becoming tyrannical.
There wasn't a problem. There wasn't that problem.
It was with the British.
No, there was with the British, but because we had the right, we wanted the right to bear arms because we wanted to pick up arms against the British, but that's not the fact that we were afraid that somebody tyrannical was going to take us over. That wasn't the reason for it at all. In fact, Charlie tended to agree with me. It had a lot to do with keeping blacks in their place and being afraid that the slaves would rise up. Yeah.
I thought it was,
you understand that blacks couldn't bear arms.
You're right.
Bear arms is just for white people.
Well, they didn't have any rights.
Long sleeve shirts.
They didn't have any rights until the Constitution gave them those
Emancipation.
rights.
13th Amendment.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about the Constitution, you're talking about a document that said, well, these are the rights that people have except these people. These people don't have those rights. And then somehow we had to write an amendment to say, okay, well, we'll let them retroactively have all those rights. So
All right.
it's not a perfect document by any stretch of the imagination, and it was written to a time that doesn't exist any longer.
But they recognize that. That's why they allowed for making amendments to it.
Oh, well,
change.
I think it was Jefferson who said actually the Constitution should be rewritten every 50 years. He said because
Slave owner.
Huh?
He's a slave owner. Yeah.
He was a slave owner. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, most of them were. But anyway, so the right to bear arms. It's a thorny question. I agree with what Josh was saying about when you live in the woods. Oh yeah, you're looking muscular. Yeah, right.
I'm bearing arms.
Oh, you're bearing arms. I would call that bearing a flab, actually. Not bearing. I can go like that now with mine.
It's when you can do it here that you got to.
I thought you were going to photo class or photo.
I did.
Beat up on.
But you see, I'm the print chair, and when the prints are done, and I don't like to submit anything for projected, because I don't believe that. I believe you should print what you show, and.
Well, who died and made you the?
I am the print chair, so therefore, when I'm done, I can go.
Oh, okay. So you don't stick around for everybody else's pictures. You just stick around for yours.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Boy, they must love you at this thing.
Nobody else wants to be the print chair.
No, but
I got conned into it, and that's why I got to be there, because I'm the guy that puts the print on the light table.
Oh, it kind of like Vanna White revealing numbers and letters and things like that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I even have to read the title as I'm putting the print on the viewer.
On the viewer?
Yeah, we have a really nice viewer that has color, the right color level bulbs, and so you put it on this viewer, and then the judge looks at it, and it's also projected for the rest of the group to look at.
This is too complicated.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I'm the print chair.
When I was a boy, you just went down to the drugstore and you gave them your negatives, and you came back a couple hours later, right?
Yeah.
Actually, in the old days, you came back a couple of days later, but. Yeah, well, anyway. So, I had some other items here. I came prepared tonight. This is interesting. A bunch of actors have come out against Woody Allen. Again, because I guess they just want to, keep the rest of the world happy. People like Michael Caine, Timothy Chalamet, Greta Gerwig are among a number of actors who publicly expressed regret over working with Allen. Oh, they were beating tracks to his door to work for them when they wanted it, Well, Woody Allen has had a hard time finding allies in Hollywood since child sexual abuse allegations about him, and his now grown daughter Dylan resurfaced amid the Me Too movement. But one actress whose career got a big boost from her work with the legendary director, Scarlett Johansson, is firmly in his corner. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Johansson said, "I love Woody, I believe him, and I would work with him anytime." She added, "It's hard because it's a time when people are all fired up, and understandably, things needed to be stirred up, and so people have a lot of passion and a lot of strong feelings and are angry, and rightfully so, and it's an intense time." But Allen helped boost Johansson to the A-list. He directed her in Match Point, Scoop, and Vicky Cristina Barcelona. She said she has spoken to Allen about the accusations, and he maintains his innocence. He has never been criminally charged. Johansson, who is active in women's issues and eagerly supporter of Time's Up, said her conversation with Allen about his past, "I have been very direct with him, and he has been very direct with me." So she's on his side. Good for her. Anybody?
Did Bobby Slayton sleep with him?
No, but he slept with Harvey Weinstein, I think, to get it.
Yeah, okay.
There's a.
Nothing. I just love Scarlett Johansson.
Oh yeah, listen. If she's for Woody, I'm for Woody, because she gives me a Woody. You know, I just think what is the? Oh, here we go. Here comes Ray Renati. Wow, we suddenly get a larger and larger panel as time goes on here. Let me just put.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Okay. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Ray? Ray, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
You can hear us. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Whoa, shit.
What?
Hold on, hold. Damn it. Wait a second.
What?
I forgot to put in my headset.
That's
You
why
don't hear us?
That's why he couldn't hear us.
Yeah.
That's it.
While he's finding his headset.
I found it.
Okay.
It's too hot for a headset today.
There. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong.
What? Oh God.
Does it work?
Do we have to go through technical difficulties now? And,
I guess so.
and he hung
Yeah, so.
and he hung up on us.
I'm sure it's an accident.
Yeah. Well, we'll let him just stay there frozen until he comes back. Anyway, let's see what else is happening. You know, I'm actually nothing. You know, Trump must be pissed with the hurricane.
Yeah.
You know, because all these news outfits are all hurricane all the time. Now, I'm watching MSNBC. Two things occur to me. Number one, you've got so much about the hurricane on. Don't you realize you also own the Weather Channel? And couldn't you just do it over there and keep MSNBC for news? Okay? Say, if you want to find out what's happening, just go over there. But no, that's not the case, okay? But then they have reporters reporting from the scene, walking in the surf. And I'm going, and this one woman's walking the surf. I swear to you, she's walking the surf, and to the side of her is this bank she could just walk right up on and not be in the water. I mean, how stupid are these reporters? They don't know how to get out of the surf, right? Yeah.
Nora O'Donnell was broadcasting from supposedly.
I don't know what's wrong with this thing.
From a wet area where the hurricane was, but it looked like it was a green screen, and she didn't look as if she was in the weather at all. That they had behind her hurricane and water and everything, and she was wearing a jacket, but it didn't appear that she was actually in the weather at all.
Well, I'm sure she was. Ray, are you having a problem, Ray? Ray, are you having a problem? Because I'd rather not have to solve this problem on the air.
He's doing it. He'll just sit there.
Well, no, but I mean, if you can't get it together, then just do us a favor and hang up.
If any of us could get it together, we wouldn't be calling this show.
Yeah, I guess so. I should be happy someone's calling who can't hear me. But no, they go out and they stand there in the surf or in the rain or what? Why? Oh, there, we lost him again. Oh, why?
Drama.
Huh?
It creates drama.
It creates drama. Exactly. So, what the hell? Let me see.
You remember last year during the hurricanes, there was a reporter that was hanging on to a tree, and there was some people walking behind him in the parking lot like nothing was going on.
It really is. That's all drama. I mean, I hate fucking weather coverage. I mean, and storms kill people, hurricanes, earthquake. I mean,
Yeah.
and they do damage. But and I lived in Florida for over a year and went through one hurricane and a tropical storm. And I mean, I get it, but every fucking storm that comes along is always the biggest storm, I mean, it's out there in the middle of the ocean and it's just huge. It's the biggest storm. And every hurricane ever is just like, like if you hold your breath for a really long time and then, when you finally, that's what every fucking hurricane does as soon as it hits land. It goes, and I mean, and then it just fucking sits there and it fucking rains and the wind blows for a couple of fucking days. And it's just like, it's just never, they just always act like this hurricane hits Florida and it's just going to break off and fucking the whole state's going to float away, which, by the way, would fucking be fine with me, but it never happened. I mean,
well, I'll tell you something.
Made up shit.
To begin with, there, some of these are real tragedies. I'll give you a good example of a real tragedy. New Orleans, right. Katrina. Amazing tragedy. And if you go down there, there's the Ninth Ward. The Ninth Ward was just completely decimated. Also happened to be where most of the black people in New Orleans lived. Okay? It's where Fats Domino lived.
Wasn't it decimated because of the break in the levee?
Well,
Lake
the lake break in the levee. I mean, whatever. It was still as a result of the hurricane, no matter which way you parse it. And to this day, I don't think it's ever been totally rebuilt. Brad Pitt went in and built some houses down there for people, and they started trying to rebuild, but they've never ever gotten the what can we call it, the help they truly needed to restore the entire Ninth Ward. And
maybe some areas shouldn't be rebuilt.
No, maybe this one should have been rebuilt because it was very viable as a community. But it was a black community, and people, somehow they don't seem to jump as fast for something like that.
I think you're reading into it.
No, I'm not reading into it. I went down there, and I had somebody drive me around, and he told me exactly what was going on.
And is there a possibility
that the government completely was not trying to fix up the Ninth Ward? It was like,
is there a possibility that maybe a lot of people there didn't have insurance, and that's why, because of the lower income area?
I'm sure. But those are the very people who need your help. Yeah. The people with insurance don't need your help. Unless
they bring in stuff that's got formaldehyde in it. I guess they brought in a bunch of small homes.
It was campers. They were,
something.
Here comes Ray again. Let's hope that he's got it together here. Let me see here. Let me see. Are you there, Ray?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you get it fixed?
Yeah.
Now we don't hear you. Now we can't hear you.
You're maybe muted. I'm not sure.
You're muted. You're muted there, Ray.
I'm not sure that he is.
Well, he could hear us. We heard him for a second.
Yeah. No, he's not muted. It's just not working.
Yeah. You can look and you can see whether it's muted or not.
I was just saying it's just always the same thing with every fucking storm that
now it's working again.
Yeah.
It's always the same. I mean, it's just replay over and oh my God, we could have storm surge up to 20 feet. Do you know what that means? And then there's got to be a guy with the graphic, and it could flood your whole fucking house. And it's just like,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
If I lived right on the fucking beach in a shack, but
Yeah, I know. They play it for all the drama that they can possibly soak out of it, and what happened in the Bahamas is appalling. It's horrible. I mean, literally, But nevertheless, are not these people who are sitting there on television going, "Isn't this horrible?" really exploiting these people?
But it is horrible what happened in the Bahamas. I mean, it's devastated.
How about Puerto Rico?
Alex,
how about Puerto Rico?
Oh yeah. but crime-ridden. But you know,
wait a minute. Why you can't let that pass? Crime-ridden.
Wow.
Well, you know, all the aid that they were sending down there seemed to a lot of it seemed to be taken by
what aid, Phil?
Crooked people like the governor.
What aid, Phil?
No. There was millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, really?
Are unaccounted for.
Really?
Water that was sitting on the runway wasted.
Because it couldn't get to the people.
It's a brown shithole country.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Well, you know, they couldn't even get a governor. The assistant governor didn't want it. The librarian didn't even want to run Puerto Rico. You know, they got all the way down to the librarian, and they said, no, not me.
This is bordering on racism.
Yep.
Like librarians are.
In
racist?
fact, probably Charlie would agree it's not bordering on racism.
It's total racism.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're all those called it racism.
You know, there are areas in which
everybody had to resign.
Phil, there are areas in which you can spout Trumpisms, and then there are others. There are others where you can't, and this is one of the ones you can't because his entire take on what went on down there was racist.
Did the governor resign? Did the assistant governor have to resign? Did the lieutenant governor? Did the secretary?
I believe
of State
these
or whatever
problems.
it was,
I believe
refuse
these problems, if I'm not mistaken, Phil, occurred prior to. Hello, Tim. Are you there? Tim?
I mean,
Hello,
besides,
everybody.
who are we to talk? I mean, look at all the crap that's been going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break.
That's exactly why I called in to say exactly that.
Jesus.
Say it, Tim.
It's penny ante stuff in Bahamas. Penny ante.
Penny ante. It's devastating.
It's like
and they
stealing
just
from
got.
a penny candy store compared to what goes on in D.C. and all the people that had to leave the Bush, the Trump administration.
The Trump administration.
And all the Russians that were arrested, and then they say they didn't do anything, and the whole Mueller thing, and do you know that Trump has spent $109 million. What was it? $1 million to go golfing of taxpayers' money.
That's putting a lot of people to work.
Oh, come on,
Phil. How much of that?
Illegal aliens to build his fountains and statues.
You didn't even begin to pay that much in taxes last year, Phil.
I think Josh is a greenskeeper, and I mean, Trump is doing a lot for his industry, right?
But see, Phil, it's like we talk about Puerto Rico, and then you're serious about it, and then we say something about Trump and the White House, and then you try to make jokes.
Because it's bullshit.
It is not bullshit. I just said a fact. Said. So what? Yeah. Well, that's what
109 million. That's chump change.
That's what all Trump. Yeah, they always make.
That's Trump change. Too. It's Trump change,
right?
Yeah, always with excuses and jokes, and I mean, it's like you can't. Anytime there's
I yell.
Anytime there's any truth about these things, you and other trumpets.
That's a good name for them. Trumpets.
Make a joke. Say it's not true.
Nothing I can do about it.
It's always the same BS.
Hey,
Can
Ray.
I make a comment?
Sure, go ahead.
If any other politician in history did one of the things on 1 hour of one day of the week that Trump does, day in and day out, they would have resigned immediately. Anybody else, a normal politician or statesman would have left. He had Pence flying halfway across the country to do a commercial for his resort.
Jesus.
It's just all too blatant.
It's never ending. It's just one thing after another. Every single.
And because it's Trump, we can laugh. We laugh it off because we think it's a reality show. This stuff is dead serious and is going to take us years to recover from.
No, that's what bothers me.
The farmers will never recover, most of them.
Yeah.
Trump owns how many golf courses?
I don't know.
4, 5, 6.
He puts his name on them. He doesn't own very much stuff.
He owns plenty of golf courses.
No, he doesn't own. Tim is right. great majority of those he puts his name on, and they pay for the use of the name, and a lot of them want to stop paying.
And what are they doing now, Alex? They've taken his name off Mucho buildings.
The one in New Jersey he owns, the Doral he owns.
Here in Manhattan, in what was called Trump City, most of the people who have condos in those buildings got together and had the name on the Trump building removed because they felt that it was going to hurt their resale value.
Unless you're selling it to a Republican.
No, I had friends who lived in one of them. And they were on the committee to get rid of the name because the name was hurting the property values. And, you know, these people, they
He's going to go down in history as a Benedict Arnold eventually, but we're too busy laughing about it right now because they can't believe it's happening.
Well, I don't know. Benedict Arnold had some good things about him. I can't name very many about Trump.
Well, Trump had some good things. He's just never for us to elect a buffoon again. So I hope we learn our lesson.
Well, you know, Tim, my question is, have we learned our lesson?
Well, the Parliament learned their lesson within a few weeks, didn't they?
Well,
we need to follow the example set by our
what's his name in England?
Get rid of the orange-headed people.
Boris Johnson has some real problems going on now.
I think he's still got some stuff up his sleeve.
Oh, really? I'd like to know what that is. No.
Well, he called for an election, and right now, based on the polls there, he'd probably get his way, and so some of those people that defected may end up not getting reelected. So he's.
I think Boris Johnson's in a lot of trouble. I think it's
you kick Churchill out of the party. Who does that?
Churchill's grandson. And and
he's a good politician. 37 years.
I guess he's not representing the people that wanted Brexit. You know that there was a 4-point.
People didn't want Brexit.
It was 52 to 48.
I think
because Russia put social media.
I think when Trump is in the same room when Trump is in the same room with Boris Johnson, you describe Boris Johnson as the asshole whose hair is real. Okay. You know.
But Boris doesn't have much use for Trump.
Do you know,
except when it's convenient.
I heard a story that Boris Johnson, when he leaves to go out in public, tousles his hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it could be completely settled just right, and he goes, and then he goes out with it.
So he looks like
Bernie
a proletariat.
Sanders look.
The what?
Bernie Sanders has the same hairstyle as.
No.
Yeah, it's all tousled and.
He's old, Phil.
Well, just because you're old doesn't mean you can't style your hair the way you want to.
Let me just bring up something quickly that I heard brought up the other day on television. You know, what's with all these old people being in the forefront of the race for president?
Well, if
wait a minute, let me finish what I was saying.
Sure.
You know, it would seem that in a country in which people are younger, and that they would be going for younger politicians. I mean, we certainly had that in Obama, for instance, a young candidate for the most part. And then, you know, what do they expect to get out of Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden, who, quite frankly, doesn't look like he's got it going for him? Okay, and what's her name? Elizabeth Warren.
I think we should bring Jimmy Carter back. He's out building houses after cancer. That's who we should bring back is Jimmy Carter.
That's why I would like to see somebody younger who can bring some new ideas to the table. You know, these.
Well, Buttigieg would be good, but he's got a long road ahead of him.
And I think Warren's not too bad. She's only 70. I mean, she's not as old.
She's not. That's not old anymore.
Yeah.
Right, guy?
Biden's 76. Sanders is 77. Yeah.
How old is Trump? Trump is 74? 74? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these are a lot of people with one foot in the grave. I should talk, you know. But these are people.
Last time I looked, Trump was 5 years old.
Trump is 73.
But
'73.
I mean, I just wonder if there's any room for younger candidates to come to the fore.
Well,
what do you think, Charlie?
AOC is going to have a lot of power real soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see who AOC endorses during the next election. She's got a pretty big base.
She's got a big base. What she's got a big megaphone, is what she's got.
Yeah.
I mean, the press will listen to everything she has to say.
That's what gives you power.
Yeah. But Charlie,
I got an idea.
Wait a minute, hold on. Tim, there are other people here. Charlie, what do you think about a younger candidate? I mean, I know you're for Elizabeth Warren. And of all the people right now, I guess I'm the most for Elizabeth Warren as well. But I just don't know if it isn't my age speaking that.
But age doesn't matter to me. It's the ideas, and I like Elizabeth Warren's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
If Pete Buttigieg had her ideas, I'd be for him.
I think he needs some aging. He needs a little bit more time to. After all, he's just a fucking mayor of a town. But I do think he is. I find him interesting. And who knows what's going to happen in a few years with AOC? Yes, Phil.
I'm just wondering, these candidates are throwing out these ideas which are really never going to come to fruition. And so why would you elect somebody or vote for somebody that, their ideas are so off the chart that they're worthless? What about doing something realistic, something that could be done, within the next couple of years, not something that's pie in the sky? And all their ideas are all pie in the sky. Oh, free education, free this, free that. I'm going to forgive all the debt.
It's not pie in the sky.
Do you know that Dick Cheney was one of the first people that that proposed giving everybody $1,000 a month, and also, to look it up. He was one of the first people that. It was actually a Republican idea originally, and then they would get rid of food stamps and other aid.
Well, the Andrew Yang wants it the $1,000 a month because he believes that our society is changing, and that with the advent of robotics, that we're going to be losing a lot of jobs, and so I think he's looking for a short-term fix to help people reinvest. But
that guy's sharp.
He is sharp.
You and I, we saw that same interview. I mean, it's too bad that he doesn't have time in those debates, because, man, he's a sharp guy, and he's got his ideas are incredible, and he's thought through everything.
The first was
what? Who, Tim?
Nixon.
Andrew.
Nixon got the negative income tax. That's the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This would just be an expansion of the negative. Hey, corporations that are worth tens of billions, including the Trump family organization, they don't pay taxes. They get rebates because of the way the tax law. They get subsidies. The oil companies get subsidies.
Yep.
That they wouldn't be in business if they didn't.
That's
Farmers
not who you
get
think
subsidies.
it is. By the way, you're holding up a picture that's not who you think it is.
Oh, really?
No.
That's not Tulsi.
Man.
That's not Tulsi Gabbard. No.
Well, that is.
No, they keep
She's a surfer.
Huh?
I know she surfs.
No, that's not her. That's not her.
Was that the
It's
Playboy
Conan
bunny
O'Brien
that's sleeping?
in a wig.
That's not her either.
I don't know you, but quit holding it up because no, that's not her either.
Okay, all right.
It's still nice to look at.
That everybody's been passing those pictures around saying it is, but it isn't. Hey,
well.
listen, there's the theme song. You can all hear it, right? This has been kind of fun tonight. Started out with a few people. Now we got a pretty good citizen panel going here, and now it's time for me to get the fuck out of here. Josh, thank you so much for that introductory syllabus for me on football. Thank you very much, Charlie Wallace. Thank you to Jeff. Thanks to Ray. Thanks to Phil, who got in here tonight. And, of course, to Tim. Tim, always good to hear from you.
I figured the usual suspects that don't call didn't call. So, what the hell?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Anyway, what I think everybody should do is probably give a big, wave goodbye to the audience out there, and I'll wave back at you. Okay, there they go, folks. That's the citizen panel. That's how they roll here. And let me get rid of the Skype so we can let Jack and his crew use the same number for. Which is Gabnet Live for his program. That's it, by the way. That's all she wrote for tonight. I've really enjoyed it. Had a good time. I hope you have too. Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection tomorrow night at 9:30. Of course, Damian Chaplin will be here with The Exchange. And I will be back again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye.